I think that that's exactly how kink works. It's a symbological enactment, and being physically at someone's feet is a gesture of physical acknowledgement of that symbological hierarchy.
Our question today comes from Kayla, who writes about feeling a profound sense of peace, security, and surrender when she's told to lay down at her daddy's feet, and even kiss his feet. The feeling transcends mere physical closeness. It stirs something deep within her, perhaps an emotional or even spiritual connection, and she wonders what this experience might mean and why it occurs.
It's a good insight, I think. And we've talked about similar things in regards to kneeling or other frameworks, and it gets intense philosophically when you're asking about what that spiritual connection might mean or what that profound sense of peace might be. And so there's no really simple way to talk about it. One of the ways I would start to explore that is I think that that is the sensation of the world fitting together correctly with your soul, of being in your place in some sense. In other contexts, you and I have plenty of philosophical discussions, and we sometimes talk about the notion of things being ordered correctly, the notion of things being set up in a way where you make sense in relation to your actions in the arena you're in, and the arena making sense to you. And I think that that is a big source of the piece. Is here she is in a submissive frame. She is in the presence of her man who is dominant over her. She has a role, she has a place, and she is enacting in real time the symbology of that place. Being at his feet, kissing his feet, it is expressions of adoration and love and worship, and it all makes sense in a way that fits together with who she is as a person, which is a deeply submissive female. And I think that that is the origin, or maybe one of the quicker notions of how to get at the origin of those feelings of spiritual connectedness in that space.
It's a deeply symbolic gesture to kneel at somebody's feet. It's in the Bible. When Jesus was washing body parts, it was the feet. He was washing, right?
He wasn't washing noses.
Yeah, and so perhaps there's almost an I think it's even in the Hindu tradition, when you are showing respect, you just very quickly bow down and touch your elders' feet, for example. So it must be a very deep psychological imprinting to be at somebody's feet in ancient times, even today, when you are showing respect to, say, a king or a leader in a far more traditional environment. Like there was this really funny image I saw where the king of Thailand, I don't know if you ever saw this image, but there's this rule that when you're in his presence, you cannot actually be standing above him in any way. And so there was this really funny image of him, like he was sitting down. So if he's sitting down, nobody could be at a higher place than him. So literally, if you want to like have an audience with him, you have to be on your hands and knees in order just to have a conversation, because the dude just decided to sit down. So now you all have to crawl on the floor. And the image that I think we have to find it and put it up at some point as well is he just recently got married. I think it was to his bodyguard, his female bodyguard. And she was giving him some flowers or something, but she was literally crawling on the ground because he was sitting on a sofa or something. So they took an image, and that was really highly symbolic, of course, of the hierarchy.
Hey all, this is Athos. If you're enjoying this content and you'd like to see more, please be sure to spank that subscribe button. It's been very naughty.
So the whole feet thing, it's very deep.
Well, and the symbology is not hard to understand. You even elucidated there's taller than, bigger than. A lot of the female-male archetypes are the sense of smallness. It's little girl, cute little ass, right? Whereas like the man is framed as bigger. Women prefer taller men. They perceive that as more dominant. Regardless, most women don't want to date men shorter than them for a lot of these reasons. And there's notions of above and below in a hierarchy. I am higher in the hierarchy than you. So yes, that is enacted by being at your physically lowest part. Is she has lowered herself physically and is physically, symbologically enacting the hierarchy that you have metaphorically created. And I think that that's exactly how kink works actually as a whole, is that it's a symbological enactment. And so whether we're talking about the archetype of the slut, or we're talking about the archetype of the goddess of love, or whatever it is, all of these are symbologies that reference points in our unconscious, even the notion of a hierarchy. In our minds, there's higher and lower. That's the nature of a hierarchy. And that in itself means that being physically at someone's feet is a gesture of physical acknowledgement of that symbological hierarchy, which is fascinating, I think, to me. How I find it fascinating how deeply these symbologies go in our unconscious. We don't have to think about any of this. None of this is in our mind that, oh, okay, yeah, because there's a hierarchy and because we consider that higher and lower and like all of these things. And God knows why, by the way, in a hierarchy, like why did we decide that being higher in the hierarchy was better than being lower in the hierarchy? Why is the pyramid not an upside down triangle? Like, maybe it is related to pyramids, maybe it's related to building, maybe it's related to notions of up. Why is heaven upward and hell downward? I think there are some of these archetypal things that we have references for, and maybe we could even dive into the psychology or the origins of that, but nonetheless, we have them and we're not conscious of them at all. We don't need to be conscious of them at all. Yeah. When someone says I'm higher in the hierarchy, none of us have to, I don't even know what necessarily the origins of heaven being up and hell being down are, but I don't need to. It's culturally communicated. And the same thing, if I'm higher in the hierarchy, you don't need to know anything about that in order to feel the emotion of being put at someone's feet or kissing their feet. The symbology of that is clear to you without any conscious understanding.